Hello, it's Ashton Lewis.
And I'm Daphne Lynn.
And you are listening to the
NDE World Podcast.
Welcome to the NDE World Podcast. I am your host, Ashton Lewis. In the studio with me, my lovely hostess, Miss Daphne Lynn. Hello, Miss Daphne Lynn. How are you?
Hello, Ashton Lewis and everyone else out there listening in NDE World.
Yay!
How is everyone?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking the same thing. How's everybody doing out there?
Great.
Yeah, I am so looking forward to today's episode, Miss Daphne. We have an interview today with a very special guest, a lady you've been talking to. Would you like to maybe share that information with the
Yes,
visitors?
Miss Amy Pomar. She's out of Jacksonville, Florida, and she had her own NDE at 4 that she later realized was an NDE after a shared death experience with her mother.
Yes, that was pretty wild. Yeah. And so we were able to actually have an interview with her.
Mm-hmm.
She was so awesome and kind enough to give her, time to us. And we were able to do an interview with her, and she shared so much information about that. And it's really cool to have a shared NDE.
Yeah.
We hear of them, but they seem to be a lot more rare. They're not like your just
Right,
everyday,
yes.
they're a lot more rare.
Exactly.
It's not like your everyday NDE. So yeah,
Right.
but it's really, really awesome interview. And I'm so looking forward to, like I said, sharing this with listeners today. So
Yes.
yeah. So before we go, don't forget to go to the website, guys, NDE.world for more information on who we are and what we do. And we'll be looking for you guys over there. So without further ado, let's jump into it, Miss Daphne.
Let's do it.
All right. And we are rolling. Well, Miss Amy, on behalf of the NDE World Podcast, I want to personally thank you for giving us the opportunity and the time to be able to share your story with us. So, firsthand, I want to thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'll start off by saying that I'm going to start this story perch differently than I've started any of them in the past. I have not spoken really or done a podcast since I've had some opportunities to see some new perspectives of things that really kind of changed everything for me. And so I'll kind of start with my history. I am 56 years old. I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. I moved to Orange Park, Florida when I was 9. I'm an only child. My mother had a stroke when I was in high school, which left her disabled. She was 47 years old. My father and my mother divorced shortly after I left high school and went on to college. I'm married. I've been married for 27 years. I have 2 boys, Sam, who's 24, and Grayson, who's 15, and my husband, George. And so that's kind of just a little bit of a background. So being an only child, it's always, and having a mother who has a disability, it's kind of, all of that fell into my lap. And so as she was ending her life, she had COPD and all the other good things. She died when she was 72, maybe, and this was about 15 years ago. When she died and was going through the process of everything, we were utilizing hospice. It was really interesting. The hospice facility was not far from my house. It's maybe a mile. And Jacksonville is the largest land area in the United States, by the way. I think we're like 947 square miles. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
So her, and Mom lived across the river. So, she ended up in the hospice facility about a mile away. And interestingly enough, she was placed in the exact same room that her mother, my grandmother, also had passed away in about 10 15 years prior to that. So that was kind of interesting. So we went, and in fact, she was released from hospice, and then they brought her back and still put in that exact same room, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yes,
Very
most
good.
definitely.
So we're in hospice, and I'm only child. It's at Christmas time. My older son was 7, I think, and I was 39. I was not pregnant with the other one yet. We didn't know Grayson was going to be coming. At that point, we were all only children, and so I'm in the hospice room with Mom, and she is going through the dying process, and I'm spending, all of my time with her, so I'm exhausted and emotionally exhausted and all the kind of good things that go with that. And we're in the hospice room. She was communicating, and then she wasn't communicating, and she was starting to her body was starting to shut down. I now kind of call it the resurrection period. It's that 3-day window right before you pass, where everything really happens in transitions for you. It's when most people report seeing their loved ones. It's when most people get down to the 0 hour and are the most honest, with everything. There is no choice but that. And so it's really, to me now, a privilege to be able to be part of that process, especially with someone who you love. So but I'm in the room and I'm sharing that with her, and she's tracking with her eyes something up on the ceiling. And it's late at night, and she was kind of whimpering, and I know she used to have some back problems, so I kind of in there with her, and I crawl up in the bed with her, and she's leaning against me, and I can see she's tracking something, and I'm trying to figure out what it is she's looking at, and she sees this. She sees, I don't know what she sees. I see this light that's up on the corner of the ceiling, and she's breathing in, and she's laying against me, and I'm trying to match her breath. It's a way to make people more comfortable to breathe with them, right? And so I'm breathing with her and matching her breath, and I'm watching this light, and as I see it happen, she's breathing out, and the light kind of gets a little brighter and comes a little closer and gets a little bigger, and then she breathes in, and it kind of pushes back away. And so it's kind of juxtaposed than what you would think. So I'm paying attention to this. And I remember my dad had a health scare that was quite severe and ended him in the ICU. So anyway, my father had also mentioned this light up at the seam of the ceiling. And so it was interesting to me. Now I've mentioned it twice. I've seen it twice. Was what he was talking about. So I'm laying in bed with her, and this is happening. This light keeps coming up, and suddenly the nurse comes in, and I get real embarrassed because I'm in bed with my mom, and I hop out of bed, and I think I end up going home for a few hours and then coming back, because this is right at Christmas time. And so then after that, the next day, I was with Mom, and it was probably toward the end of the afternoon, and all of a sudden she takes a deep breath and she goes, "Oh, Amy, it is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire life." And I said, "What are you looking at?" And then she says, "I'm home. I'm home. I'm home." And I said, "Well, what do you mean you're home? Are you in Wisconsin? Are you that home?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Oh, you should probably go inside." there's people in there that are waiting for you. So next thing she hears is, or next thing I hear is, oh, Mother, Daddy, she says a poem about pie. And it's something like cheese on pie, my oh my, we love cheese on pie. It was a poem her dad used to say, and I remember it from when I was little. He used to say also, and then they're from Wisconsin too. Everybody likes cheddar cheese on apple pie. It's the weirdest damn thing. But anyway, so they're having this conversation. She's relaying this conversation, and I realize that she is in a whole different world, still here, but there. And I had a couple of occasions when I was small that had happened that were supernatural, I thought, and that I needed to have some clarification for.
Yeah.
So I took this brief window of opportunity to be selfish and ask Mom. So the first thing that happened was my grandfather died, and they were from a small town in Friendship, Wisconsin, very small little town, Adams Friendship. My relatives were founders for this area, so, roots run deep. And and Mom was an only child as well. It was 1976, and Grandpa died. We were living in Indianapolis, and so we drove up that day, and it was a very, very small 2-bedroom house. And so we spent the night. Mom was in her childhood room, and I was put to bed in my grandparents' bed on the side where Grandpa used to sleep. And he died in the house that day of an aneurysm. So I was in bed, and I thought I was having a sleep-awake dream, but Grandpa came to me, and there was a big light behind it, and, I was 9, 8 or 9, and a big light behind him, and he said, take care of Mom and Grandma, and I said I would, and then he left, and I said, okay, and never forgot it. When Mom was kind of half in and half out, and I knew Grandpa was right there, I'm like, Mom, ask, and before I could even finish the story, ask Grandpa if I did what I was supposed to do. She answered it. She said, yes. He says, thank you very much. You did an excellent job. So I'm like, okay, we're going to move on to something a little more here. And of course, that made me cry, made me very happy. And I never told Mom that I had seen Grandpa in the doorway, because it would have she, with her stroke and being an only child, she would have just cried for months. And, so I never, ever told her about that. So her being able to answer it just validated it. But when I was about 4, I was at my grandparents' house, and they lived in rural Wisconsin, and there was a big Indian population, Native American population there. And I love Native American everything back then, anything, everything. I loved it all. And loved the stories, loved the everything. And so I'm out on the tire swing in the backyard, and there's woods behind there. And there's this Native American guy in a headdress and a loincloth, and he's walking through the woods with an arrow. And I panic because I think he is going to shoot my dog. So I grab the puppy, and I run behind the burn barrel, and I wait till he passes, and then I run into the house, and I tell my grandma, and she tells me that I am full of it, and to never mind that. So I said, okay, and that was the end of it. But so Mom's in 2 worlds. I'm like, Mom, when I was 4, I saw, she said, yes, you were not supposed to see him. He is one who walks between worlds. And that was the end of the conversation.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So I knew she was okay, and I knew that she had been hand delivered to her family. And there was no more conversation after that. So now it was just a matter of time before her body shut down. And so we're there, and I'm sitting next to her, and I'm very close to her. And of course, I'm still breathing, trying to help her breathe. I didn't understand angular breathing really at the time, but I'm very close to her. And, she's taking her last couple of breaths and takes a breath and holds it for a minute, and then she breathes it out. And I breathe it in, and it feels like dry ice on my spine. I kind of black out. And the next thing I know, the hospice nurse and my husband are over by the chair. I breathe out. Mom takes one more breath, and then she's gone. It was the most profound physical feeling I've ever experienced. I can't really describe it. I am very sure her soul went through me when it was leaving her body. I firmly now believe she did it on purpose.
Sure.
Yeah, but it and then the amount of joy I had after she died was probably a little inappropriate for the hospice setting afterwards.
Oh.
But I mean, she had been in a broken body for so long that she was no longer trapped in this stroke body
Yes.
and everything. But the feeling was not my own. It wasn't something that I created, and I wasn't anticipating. It was unexpected. And then of course profound grief and everything after that. But there was no way to ignore anything that happened there. My husband was there. He witnessed it. It was unable to process the experience because it was so profound. And then as I started to think about it afterwards, I would have more and more perspectives that would be coming at me, and very overwhelming, very fast thoughts of, things I've never known and thought before. It set me, after I kind of got through the grief a little bit, it didn't leave me. And shortly afterwards, I was in December. My husband's father was also sick at this time. He ended up passing away in August. And then somewhere between those two times, I ended up becoming pregnant with Grayson and had him at age 40. So after all of these life changes and events, a couple years down the road, this profound feeling, these thoughts of things I don't really care or think about before, are still there. And I'm thinking, maybe I should figure out what's happened.
Yeah.
And so I start seeking. And wow, is there a whole world out there that is just waiting
Yes.
to give you their perspective of answers and stuff. So in trying to understand and trying to keep up with all of the information that's kind of pouring into my brain, this is also the time where Ancient Aliens, the TV show, kind of started. My husband was watching it religiously, like that and Bigfoot and all of those shows. So I'm watching these shows going, no, that's not happened. That's not what happened. That's not how they did that. That's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, this is how it happened. Here, let me show you. And so I start drawing to try and illustrate some of the perspectives or things that I can see, but not necessarily can explain. And all of my life, I've had the opportunity to see things in a different way. I'm really good about knowing things about people. I used it in my career. I was a high volume corporate recruiter. I could fill a class of 30 people for a company, once a month, which means that I would have to go through interviewing 100 people to fill a class of 30. So I'm really good at reading people and reading them quickly and knowing their true intent. And it's just all the opportunities I've had in life, it's all been geared toward that, right? And I really love it too. I love being able to see the truth in people. And I love being able to give people an opportunity to be who they really are.
Right.
What that means for them is up to them. But, I could see it in them.
Yep.
And I've always had that and never thought it was any big deal. I just thought it was me. And it is, just like it would be anybody else. But when I started getting all these perspectives coming in and I started trying to understand what I was seeing, and so one time it would be an alien, somebody would be talking about like how the star brothers and sisters do this, and I'd be like, oh, I've got a drawing for that here. Or it would be how God touches you. I'm like, oh, I've got a drawing for that here.
Wow.
So I have about 700 drawings right now of all sorts of things.
Wow.
You name it, I've got a drawing for it.
Yeah.
And again, I have no idea where any of this stuff is coming from. It's just a way to show, to kind of explain how things go. One drawing might be, and I would sit down and I would do 6 drawings in maybe an hour. And one drawing would be in nothing but monotone blue. The next drawing would be, 1,000 different colors. And I'm also really good at picking up on patterning. And especially intentful patterning. So all of a sudden I would be talking to somebody and in my brain, I would start getting this storyboard of explanation for what they were asking for. So I might have a question about the soul, right? I might see the soul in a certain way. So what I would do would go find the resident expert who I thought had the most information or that I resonated with the most. The expert on soul, whatever. And this is a real example. In my case, it's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Deshmukh, who I ran across on social media, who just happens to live right across the street from me.
No.
Oh, wow.
And who is a retired neurosurgeon who specializes in consciousness and using your soul. I don't know. The man is just amazing. He takes pictures every day of art and posts it for the entire neighborhood to see. And so he was the person that I met when I was experiencing, trying to figure out more about consciousness and how that plays out here in this world. When I ran into the alien factor, and there's a lot of them here, we're not that far from Kennedy Space Center. And also in Jacksonville, we have 3 Navy bases. Very close by, we have the Naval Air Station, which is right across the street from me. We have out at the beach, Mayport, and then up in St. Mary's, Georgia, we have a nuclear submarine base. So there are so many alien hunters here because evidently nuclear submarine bases are attracting aliens, right? So David Greer and all his group, they all hike up and down the east coast of Florida between here and probably West Palm Beach trying to do UFO sightings all the
Wow.
time. And so when I had a question about that, Um, although I didn't meet anybody here, the people I ended up meeting were people that I ran into in Disney World. It was a very strange story. And they had lots of answers for me. It was a very interesting conversation, but all of these people, there's all of these people that can answer all of these questions, and they're all within your neighborhood.
Wow.
If you're just open to them, and just like they're in your neighborhood.
Yep.
So how is that possible, right? How can you, how are they so close? And now I can spot people in a crowd of 100. I can pick you out, right? And it's just something I've always had. And how is that possible? Well, running into, and it's taken me a good 15 years of trying to figure this out, to get some type of grounding or some type of directional answer for any of this. And what I have figured out is that in our early childhood, especially between birth and 5 years old, there are so many opportunities to experience a fragile life. And so many times things happen to kids and people don't even know. And I learned this because in trying to find out what happened to me, I started listening to other NDE stories. And listening to near-death experiences are so healing for so many reasons. But the biggest reason is because the people that are talking about them are recounting their firsthand experience with God, their firsthand experience with a being, their firsthand experience with their loved ones or their ancestors or whatever, right? And it's the truth. It's the core truth of their experience that they're recounting, and you can hear it in their voice.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing more healing than knowing that the person that just died next to you is actually going to get to go to heaven, because this person got to go to heaven. They were just like that person, right? Or this happened or that happened. And I kept going back to my mom's experience. I actually spoke to Dr. Moody also, because I had a shared near-death experience with my mom, and I couldn't quite figure it out. So, I go to the resident expert, and, Dr. Moody is it.
Oh, yeah.
So spent some time, chatting with him, and Lisa Smart. She wrote a book called Words in Heaven, where she also recounted the importance of words and how they resonate with people. And I ended up spending some time with Lisa on the phone and chatting, and kept listening to NDEs, and finally, I got to this NDE, and of course I never marked it. I was so excited. I keep asking the universe to send it back to me, but it was a man, and he was my age, and he was from Indianapolis, Indiana, and he had an experience back in 1974. Where he had gone to the dentist, and the dentist had put too much nitrous oxide on him, and it had created a death experience for him. When I was 4 years old, I was at the mall, and I was with my dad, and we were playing on the jungle gym, which was this big brass sculpture. And I said, "Look, Dad, I'm a clown," and I fell. And I broke my teeth, and my dad picked me up and rushed me to the dentist, where I don't remember much except for the fact that I was floating on the ceiling. And then when the dentist came back in, I thought I was going to be in trouble, so I got back in my body really quick, and that was the end of it.
Wow.
So I'm listening to this NDE, and I am almost in complete shock because I've about given up. on understanding anything that has happened to me. And this was probably about 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe not even that long. I don't even know. Time really has no meaning with this stuff. So,
Right.
And so I'm listening to this guy, and it's 1974 and Indianapolis, Indiana, and he has fallen, and he has, or he is at the dentist, and the dentist has given him too much nitrous oxide and killed him. And he says the dentist's name, and I say, and I hear in the back of my voice, "Go check your baby book." So I did. And yes, it was the same dentist.
Oh, no.
Same time. And so all of a sudden, all of these, like, why is this happening to me? That veil got completely lifted. And now I realize that I had an NDE, that I also had experienced these same dentists, the bad science, that the only difference between me and that other kid that was in the same dentist chair in the same dentist office at the same time was timing. You know, if the doctor would have been 5 more minutes for me, I wouldn't have seen him and pop back in my body. I would have been going. And you know, I remember that feeling. It was I can't describe it. I can't describe that feeling of being out of your body, but I'll tell you what, I chased that feeling for years. You know, I'm a Gen Xer. We partied hard. You know, I did lots of stuff in college I probably shouldn't have been. I went to college at Loyola University in New Orleans. I'll just say that. So, we partied a lot, and I could never find the feeling again. I looked for it. I gave up trying to find it because I could never find it.
Yeah.
But once I learned that that's what happened to me, wow, all of that just lifted off my shoulders. It was the most liberating thing I have ever experienced. In fact, I think I'm about to cry because it took it all away, right?
Right.
And then I started realizing, you know, my son got knocked out when he was little. When we were in Wisconsin at my mother's funeral, it was the middle of January. We went sledding right down the same hill that I used to go sledding at, you know, same place. Well, he gets knocked out while he's there. We don't realize he gets knocked out. He comes back and he has, you know, he's a headache. He certainly had gotten a concussion. And it was a little bit more than, you know, we thought. But that kid has superpowers. You know, he's 24 years old. He can tell you exactly what time it is anywhere at any time. You don't ever need a watch with him. And he sees, you know, he's really good at being able to step away from or separate from the ooze that people kind of bring along with them. He kind of sees the ooze. Yes. So does my other one. But the gifts that I have gotten since my experience when my mom went through me, and then again, additionally, going through menopause, I don't know what magic switch happens with that, but I don't know if it's because the electrical noise in your body quiets down, or I don't know. But I have found that the older women get, and then after they go through menopause, the more space they have to start experiencing these gifts too. So I've been contemplating all of this stuff for the last couple of years, right? Because there's got to be something to this, and I've come up with a few conclusions for things. The first thing is that this happens often to people, and that people go to sleep on their gifts. It's not that they're asleep to the spiritual world. It's just that their gifts are just part of who they are. So to treat them as anything different is not benefiting the gift.
True.
Necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest lesson I've learned so far is everything comes from the inside out. Nothing comes from the outside in. I might talk to you. You may hear things that give you chills. You might hear things that make you cry. You might hear things that bring you joy. But it's up for you to translate that on the inside out, right?
Yeah.
So my good intent, my good words have meaning when I say them to people. And I want people to have a joyful experience or a happy experience. So I mind my words as best I can. I am a mom, so I will just say that.
Understood.
Does not work all the time everywhere. But
wow. Okay. Well, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so going to the moment when your mother had transitioned, you said her soul went through you and everything. Did you experience like any seeing any visuals of that experience? Did you see any heavenly experiences or any other souls, or was it just that she went through?
It was a black void. It was a black void. It was just black, but not dead. So, I'm not the only person that's had this experience, and it always comes out in different things. So I was watching, what was the name of that show? The Good Place. Okay. The Good Place. The Good Place is an amazing show. But at this one point, Janet brings people to the void, and this is the void I now understand to be, and because I've thought about that, it was black and it was cold and it was, I didn't pass out, but I passed out. I thought, I don't even know. It was a physical feeling that filled my body unlike anything I've ever experienced before. And I knew that it was a soul that had gone through me.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, in trying to understand like the lights up on the thing of the ceiling, I started drawing. I think I sent you a write-up I had done, and then at the bottom of them was attached some drawings. Mm-hmm. And on there is my understanding of what that light was. So a lot of the spiritual aspect of the experience unfolded later in my understanding of what it was. So that light up at the end of the ceiling is the light of, and I'm just using my words for it, but based on my history and my perspective, is the light of God that draws closer to you. And then it undoes into, people will call it the tunnel. Mm-hmm. I saw it as a staircase, and then there was a split. There is these two beings that are, and I called it a staircase because they were like they had a round head and they were kind of square, but they weren't people. They looked like little people, little Fisher-Price people, looked like that, right? But they were, I called them banister angels because they were at the bottom of the staircase.
Wow.
Okay.
And then the light would illuminate. But when I was having the experience, it was only the light on the ceiling that I was seeing. It wasn't until I had this pass-through physical experience that the veil got lifted, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And really what it seemingly was the veil had already been lifted when I had this experience at the dentist.
Okay.
The veil doesn't get put back. We put back the veil. People talk about when they die, they see everything all at once, so life review all at once. And if you stop and you think about, well, what's the difference between being able to remember it, right? And seeing it all at once in heaven. Well, you don't have a physical body, right? You have no limitations whatsoever. So of course you're going to see everything all at once. It's all there. It all exists.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're just in the middle of it, right? You're the pinpoint.
That's right.
And everything comes off of you. Deja vu. 2 timelines meeting.
Gotcha.
That point, but it's already passed. By the time you realize it's deja vu, that timeline is already gone, so you can't go back to it. But that's exactly what it is. It's 2 timelines meeting.
I like that.
The only difference is that other timeline was before you. You're just remembering it. You're the second timeline.
That's amazing.
Gotcha.
And then, and then the next time you remember it, it won't be you. It'll be your third timeline, and you're someplace else. It's fun.
It's
so
deep, isn't it?
Yeah, hearing your story, Amy, it sounds like you have always been in touch with your own intuition, and some of us have those abilities that we have fine-tuned, some do not, some are somewhere in between. But you were talking earlier about, you were getting downloads of information. What kind of information can you share with us of those downloads that you was having? Is it on like the universe, on God? Can you share some of the information that you was being downloaded?
What do you want to know? Pick a topic.
Anything you want to share.
Well, it's a tangent. What do you want to know?
Okay, one that a lot of people like to talk about, God, religion. That's a big topic among the NDEers, and then the other people in the world. So, what information do you have on God and religion?
Oh, the smile that's over my face right now, and then of course I have chills going down because I love answering questions about this. I've worked really hard. I was raised Catholic, right? And after I had this experience with my mother, my older son was going to Catholic school, and he was a altar boy one day. And I was drawing at the time, and so I would go and I would get these ideas. So I would sit in church and I might get these ideas and I would start drawing. Of course, I don't know what I'm drawing until I'm done. And it's interesting. I'm listening to this conversation. It's not our regular priest. It's Monsignor. He's there, and he's talking about how we are, we're the body of Christ, but we'll never be God or something. I'm not really. It was something that made me whip my head right around, and he was really kind of installing fear into people, like, you could try to be good enough, but you'll never be good enough.
That's right.
Was the message that this whole congregation was getting. And, that was not the same feeling that I had about God, right?
Yeah.
And who is this man to tell all these people that they're separated and they're never going to be good enough? That's not okay. And so I wait, and it was a big service. I wait till everybody goes. I wait. I'm the last person there. And he asked me, and I make my son wait too. And he says to me, he asked if he can help me. And I said, no, I can help you. So I start telling him about himself. And of course, that didn't go over very well. because I, I don't know my Bible backwards and forwards. I just know what the priests tell me because I'm Catholic. And, so I had all these big emotions and all these big ideas, and I walked out of the church, and I haven't been back.
Yeah.
I've gone to, we have some big like revival type churches, and I've come to learn that when you hear the words, you would really enjoy my church, that's church 2211, and their congregation continues to grow. And so I've gone to those type of stuff, and I've been able to experience, what they would call bringing the Holy Spirit down, and how that happens by repeating music over and over and over and over again, and really, getting the right testimony up on the church stage so that the voice of the simple truth of God is heard, right? But there are very few churches that understand the power of that kind of stuff that I have seen. So, and I keep looking, right? I keep looking.
Yeah, like you were saying earlier with the preacher, he was instilling fear into everyone that heard his message, and that
Right.
fear lowers our vibration. That fear keeps us down and keeps us away from our recognition, our divinity that is within each of us.
Or, or even more simply, it lowers our self-esteem.
Yeah.
It does.
It makes us feel less than.
Yep.
It's not even people don't understand, not everybody understands vibration, or that it lowers this, but they do understand what it feels like to lower your self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
And, being told that you're not something does that. And then it's up to us to make the choice. Well, that's not true about myself, and we have to make that choice. And I'm thankful that I get to make that choice, because now my life is an accomplishment instead of a victimhood, right?
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how has this affected you overall? With your total outlook on life and the afterlife and things like that. And is there something like maybe that you can maybe share in conclusion, kind of closing in here, that maybe some final words to share with the audience like what would you like to share that would be, in reference to life itself or the afterlife, that just something that, if there was something you can share with the listeners or leave with the listeners, what would be something you'd like to share with them?
I think it's really important for people to always remember who they are a little bit. You don't have to remember who you are the whole way. You just have to have faith that you know who you are a little bit. That's really all you need, just a little bit. And a little bit starts with just a few seconds, and it ends up into 5 minutes and 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, and then a lifetime.
Yeah.
So that the part inside of you that says, I am this, I am not that, drop all the I am nots and start living the I am this.
Yes. Very well said.
That's the way that's what you were meant to do. That's what God wants you to do. That little spark inside of you, is an I am this. That's all it is. And it's in you. It's in every single one. Whether I tell you you have it, or you finally learn for yourself that you have it. Whether you learn when you're 5 or when you're 95, you'll get it.
That's right.
You'll get it. And all those loved ones that you think, are intangible, the cord is cut. That's a real thing. And it feels like a vacuum. Grief is like a vacuum. It just pulls you through and you can't stop. And that's a physical feeling. And it's because that etheric cord is severed. That's real. But they are literally breathing down your neck right now. And they stand behind you, and they do see everything that you do. And because we are all God, made in God's image. He, we're also, he also is with us always, and sees and is with us
Yeah, it's beautiful. I
always.
love how you said that.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of ties in with what Daphne and I were talking about this morning, how it's kind of, if you can get into the habit, it's kind of, when you first start saying it, it's kind of, but if you could say it, because I'm even trying to practice myself, but like I told Daphne this morning, I'm like, I am, how did I say that? I'm expressing myself through many forms, through humans, through trees, through the ocean, through the sun, the stars. I am. There is that's all there is I am. The
Mm-hmm.
I, the what we call God, the source, the all. That's all there is, and it's when you realize that. I love the way you had put it earlier. That's within all of us, and that's where it all starts. If you can start with that inside and realize that divinity is in all of us, you can change. You can move those mountains.
If you know what, if I were to give you a gift of a mantra, it would be, I am so lucky that I get to show God my world through my perspective.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I love that. I'm writing it. Could you repeat that one more time real quick?
I am so lucky that I get to show God my life through my perspective.
Awesome.
That's beautiful.
I love that.
We are all the expression of the Creator.
I love talking about this stuff. I could go on and on and on about anything.
Absolutely.
Oh, most definitely. So how would people find you if they have questions for you?
Well, I guess Amy Pomar, and it's Pomar on Facebook, because I'm, old like that, and would be the easiest way. I used to put my artwork up. Well, all my art, there's a lot of my artwork up that's on my Facebook page, but I used to have a page that it's still there. I just haven't interacted with it for a long time, but it's called Divine Abstract. I only sold one painting ever, and I sold it for a name, which was Divine Abstract. So that's also on Facebook, but there's lots of knowledge in those drawings as well. So if people are interested in different aspects, they'll see things that they recognize in those drawings. I had met some people in Peru that's a whole different story. Anyway, so they follow my drawings, and they like to interact too. So if anybody saw that and they had questions, go for it.
That's awesome.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. We love your experience and what all you've been through. I know it's been a lot and learning the process. So we're all here to experience and grow and learn. So keep up.
Yeah, well, keep doing what you guys are doing. It's not gonna be too much longer, and you guys are really, really, really going to have a good formula working with the universal laws working in your favor. It'll be fun. I'm really excited to see where you go.
That is
too.
Really
Awesome.
Yes, us too.
Thank
Amy,
you.
I have to say this. Thank you for saying that.
That's funny that you said that. Yeah.
We actually started doing some episodes, a series on our website on the podcast for the divine laws, the universal laws.
It is about the universal laws. Yeah.
Yes. So that is amazing that you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's very evident. Yeah, it's very evident that it's working for you. So, and in fact, I think I started out this whole broadcast with saying, you put out what comes back, and universal law of return. So I guess really this podcast is your validation that what you're doing is working.
Awesome.
You have a total stranger telling you.
Thank you.
And we love it.
It's in the works.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
It is. It's really fun. It's really fulfilling. I mean, it just gives a sense of purpose.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised at
It's
how many people actually say that this really does help them just to have some kind of platform, just to be able to share that, So
Mm-hmm.
we get a lot of that as well.
oh, for so many reasons. It's for so many reasons, and
Yeah.
Yes.
Even therapy.
Especially therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially therapy. People go to therapy because they wrestle with their own choices. Here and the fear of the unknown, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're either going to bury themselves in their bad choices, or they're going to rid themselves of their bad choices.
Mm-hmm.
Most people that have NDEs rid themselves of their bad choices.
Yep.
So people like to listen to them because it gives somewhere somebody's going to be like them, right?
Mm.
And give them what they need. I probably listened to 1,500 podcasts before finally, the one that I got gave me the answer, even a tiny little bit of what I was looking for, that unlocked everything.
And you knew
Oh,
it
yeah.
too, didn't you?
Yeah.
So
It
it's
definitely
so
resonated.
important.
And Amy, thank you so much, so very much. We will definitely be in contact with you when we get everything edited. We will send you a link and let you know it's on the Facebook page. We put it on our group and everything. So we will definitely get you the information and let you know when it's live.
Thank you. I certainly appreciate that. I look forward to talking to you guys again.
Yes, we'll definitely keep in touch.
I love talking about universal law too. So if you ever want anybody to come over and bounce things off of on the other show, I'd be happy to do that.
Let's do that. Yes.
You've got a date. We'll take you up on that because we've got I think maybe 20 episodes so far. So we're right early into it. But yeah, that sounds perfect. Yeah, because we're really into that. So yeah, we'll do that. Sounds good.
All right. You guys have a great day.
You as
You
well.
too.
You take care, love. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All righty, there you have it, Miss Amy. Thank you, Miss Amy. We appreciate you for sharing your information with us there on the NDE World Podcast. Miss Daphne, any comments?
Yes. Wow. She has a lot of information that she shared with us. I really appreciate it. And I really didn't even get to question her on this. But I really appreciated when she was sharing about when she was 4, when she saw the Native American Indian in the full headdress, when she was 4.
Between worlds,
yes, and she was going to ask her mother about this. Her mother was answering before she ever even asked several questions, and this was one of those where she was going to mention it, and her mother said it was one who walks between worlds, that she wasn't supposed to have seen that. So that's pretty interesting that she has been in touch and seen things from a very young age, as most people who have had NDEs experience some type of spiritual gifts afterwards. Yeah. Well, she said the veil was lifted when she had her experience, that made it visible to her to see those things and the downloads of information as she had the shared experience.
Yeah, I also love the beauty of just that intuition and that sense of being able to pick up on people, and
yes,
that sense of their behavior, the personalities, what kind of person is that?
Right.
And that's a gift in itself.
Yes, and I love the fact that she is not the only one of our experiencers that has said that everyone is endowed with these gifts, but not everyone is aware of it. Not everyone uses it. Some fine-tune it. So we all have these gifts. We just have to tune into them and use them.
Yep. And one of the things that she did mention quite a few times, and we stress it so much on this show, is that, you are divine.
Yes.
You are one with the all. And that's what we love about these NDEers, and they come back and share that. There's so much more than the here and the now.
Exactly. And I would really love, she had mentioned this after the interview, is her coming on for some of her knowledge on the universal laws, as having her as a guest on the universal law series that we're doing. I absolutely love that idea.
Yeah. And for any of you who are interested in that, you can get that information on the NDE.world website as well.
Mm-hmm. I love the fact that she had mentioned the I am, that we are all the I am, that is within each and every one of us.
Yeah, that's hard to say that.
And yeah, it is hard when you first hear this. A lot of people gasp, as I did myself.
Yeah.
But if you really can't say it, I am divine. Just say I am divine. You don't have to say you're God. That may be blasphemous to some people. It used to be to me. Now it's not so. But that I am presence. Quit saying I am not, and start saying I am this, or I am that. Whatever you put afterward is what you become.
Yeah, it's the deeper spiritual truths,
Yeah,
I love realize your divinity.
Yes, and I love the she even touched on the consciousness and the oneness of things and everyone.
Just the fact, Daphne, that you are aware of all of this. Who is the you that is aware?
Good question.
And
really make you stop and think.
yeah. When I always like to ask people, and have you ever had a conversation with yourself? And most people have. That's just what we do. And my next question, of course, they say, yeah, sure. My next question, well, who is doing the talking and who's doing the listening?
Mm-hmm.
So who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah. So anyway, any final comments on today's episode with Daphne?
Oh, I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to having her on again. And
yeah,
it was a wonderful conversation.
Sure. Miss Amy,
it.
Yes, we thank you so much for your time and information, and we thank all the listeners out there for tuning in, and hopefully they can gain some knowledge and some insight from this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you guys have any information, don't forget to go to the website NDE.world for more information. And we've got everything over there, tons of episodes. I mean, over 100 plus
topics,
episodes and topics, and there's a lot going on over there. So again, that is
NDE.world. And also join us on our Facebook group, NDE World Podcast.
Yeah. All the information is on the webpage. Mm-hmm. Actually, right there at the front page, I believe all your information. You go to the website and hit like Facebook and all those other places.
Yes, and it is up and going just a few weeks now, and those numbers are really starting to grow. So thank you guys for joining and interacting with us there. That's what it's there for, is for us to interact with each other.
Yeah, very good, very good. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We love you all so much. May peace be with you. Until next time.
Y'all let your light shine.
Hello, you beautiful souls. Don't forget to visit the website, NDE.world. That is
NDE.world.